Good morning and welcome to demo number 3 in my week of Pat McGrath Labs Bijoux Brilliance. Just in case this is the first video you're seeing, let me catch you up. I'm doing a whole week of the Bijoux Brilliance collection, so the Holiday 2023 collection from Pat McGrath Labs here on my channel. I've already done swatches of all the products that I purchased, which comprise all the queens as well as the Mega Mothership in Starstruck Splendor. So if you would like to see the swatches, you can go watch that video. And I've already done 2 demos, one with the Lunar Nightshade Queen and one with Bronze Ecstasy. And in today's video I'm going to demo for you the Bordeaux Bliss Queen, which is this shade right here. I'm super excited to dig into this queen in particular because that one was really the biggest question mark for me. All the other products I more or less knew that I'm probably going to enjoy and get a lot of use out of, but this color story is not particularly my kind of color story, and I didn't really know whether I was going to enjoy it. I still don't, which is why I'm really curious how this look is going to go. But before we dig into Bordeaux Bliss, I'm going to finish off the base of my makeup. Just again to catch you up a little bit. I don't really do the foundation concealer part on camera, I've already done that, and we're going to start off now with a bronzer and that kind of thing, because it is just a little bit more, you know, time efficient, given that I still need to get to work. I'm going to take the Charlotte Tilbury Sun-Kissed Glow Bronzer in the shade 2 Medium to bronze up today. I've really been enjoying filming these videos and putting these little queens to the test, and I'm also getting very excited to the end of the week when I'm finally going to use Starstruck Splendor, because it's so unusual for me to own something for such a long time and not have tried it yet, but I'm not going to get around to Starstruck Splendor before Friday. Speaking of Charlotte Tilbury, she has released a holiday palette which initially I thought looked really lame and really like it just gave me so much like Huda Beauty 9-pan eyeshadow palette vibes that I had no interest in it. But I've seen people do videos with this palette, and I was particularly intrigued by what Charlotte said, because Charlotte Holdcroft, in case you didn't know, she mentioned that she was at a masterclass or something where they talked about the this specific palette and why they decided to choose the colors that they put in there. And after hearing her talk about it, I thought, oh, this makes so much more sense. Because if you look at the palette, it's not necessarily a very holiday palette. I mean, it is sparkly, but the specific colors that are in there, which are a little bit pink leaning, almost like spring colors leaning, don't really fit the theme of Christmas so much. But the way she explained it is, what they were aiming with this palette is to cover all the current trends in makeup. I'm going to, by the way, now take one of the cream blushes from Pat. This is the shade, don't judge me, this is the shade Sun-Kissed Seduction, which is a beautiful terracotta shade. So the way she explained it is that basically they wanted to combine all the current trends in a makeup palette. So what you're going to see in there is the latte makeup trend, and also the Barbie makeup trend represented. So when she, maybe that there was something else as well that I'm forgetting, but when she explained it this way, I was like, oh, this makes so much more sense now. There's your fun little tidbit. I don't know that I'm going to purchase that palette. I like admiring it from afar, but I think it is a really good release from Charlotte Tilbury. It's just a shame that it looks so much like a Huda Beauty palette. I'm going to highlight with my beloved Venusia Nude highlighter from the previous holiday collection from Pat McGrath Labs. I'm just taking a little bit on my Sonia G, I think this is the Worker L, which is my new favorite highlighter brush. Alright, and without wasting another minute, let's get into Bordeaux Bliss. Now, the way I'm going to approach this palette will actually be very similar to what I did with the Lunar Nightshade Queen, which also has one of these black shades infused with glitter. I am going to also use this shade as a liner pushed in my lashes. But actually, before I do that, I'm going to try out this purpley mauve shadow here, which has a little bit of gold glitter through it, as my crease shade, because I think what's going to happen is that a lot of this glitter will just sort of fly away when I blend it out through my crease. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to keep the lid pretty simple, and I'm just going to use this pink shade over here because it looks to be such an interesting deeper sort of pink neutral champagne taupe. and I believe there is blue sparkle in there, so I'm very curious about this shade. I'm going to put this one in my inner corners, and unfortunately that means that for this specific look I'm planning actually on foregoing the flaky glittery shade here, which is this beautiful warmer coppery red tone. It is probably a really pretty eyeshadow, but yeah, I just want to see how these are going to make a look together. So we're just going to, you know, revisit this shade at some point later during a pat pairing, or when I demo this quint again in a different video. So to start off, like I said, I'm going to take a blender brush and I'm going to take a little bit of this purple mauve and see how that goes through my crease. Oh, that's actually not too bad. It's coming across pretty much like a sort of like neutral type pink shade. It's actually not too bad. I don't really mind the tone of this eyeshadow too much. I don't know whether you can see, but the way I'm using it right now, it pretty much behaves like a matte eyeshadow. There's really hardly any of that gold glitter sticking around. I think most of it has by now flown away. So, like I also said in my swatch video, I don't really understand the point of this shade. Is there anyone out there who still actually likes mattes with glitter in them? And if you do, why on earth? Please explain yourself, because I just don't understand how these eyeshadows work. Let's proceed to the liner step, for which I'm going to use this beautiful black shade infused with hot pink sparkle as a liner. I did the exact same thing with the shade, the like corresponding shade in Lunar Nightshade, and I actually really enjoyed it. And just like with the shade in Lunar Nightshade, the pink glitter is sticking very nicely to my lids, even without having applied any sort of tacky base. I mean, I am wearing an eyeshadow primer, but I haven't really applied any sort of glitter glue. And right now the sparkles are still in there. I hope that you can see that there is still quite a bit of that beautiful pink sparkle on my wing. Really pretty. So if you want to go for something like super simple, you can just basically stop here. I'm going to do my other eye. And again, what I really like about the formula of these two eyeshadows is that there's practically no fallout. Even though they're so dark and technically flaky and sparkly, there is some like degree of creaminess in there, which really prevents severe fallout. I really like it. Look, there's really not a single speck of black on my cheeks. I find that very remarkable. I am going to go back and re-intensify the wing after I have applied the metallic eyeshadow, but first I'm going to apply the metallic eyeshadow, and for that I'm going to take my NYX glitter glue. And while we do that, I think I'm ready to share the results of my experiment. So, you know how I mentioned in one of my previous videos that I wasn't going to open this until I had finished up my Pat McGrath Labs Intensify stick. However, that stick did me dirty. Because, so I've not really used that stick thing very consistently. I used it in the beginning and it worked fine with the baked shades in her Mothership palettes, but then I hadn't really used it in a while, or not consistently, and I started using it much more consistently in the past couple of weeks because I've been trying to finish it. And I found out that thing does not work, especially with the formula that is present in the quints. These are really emollient, really crease prone if you have oily eyelids, and for me, the combination of primer and the Intensify stick from Pat does not work one bit. I'm going to take a flat shader brush and dipping into this beautiful neutral pink with, I hope, blue sparkles in it. So I noticed, especially lately, because I've been using these quints a lot, that my eyeshadow had started creasing not even before the 8-hour mark. Like so badly that I could feel my eyelids getting oily. Like my eyelids felt wet and oily and I could see them cracking up already at like 5-6 hours of wear, which has never happened to me before. I have Bronze, Bliss and Nude Allure and I've been wearing them for like the past year. Never had any issues with creasing. And all of a sudden I have like these severe creasing issues. And I pretty much think it is because of the Intensify stick from Pat. Pat is very much a balm sort of texture. It's a very different kind of texture compared to, for example, the NYX glitter glue. And if you have very oily eyelids and these eyeshadows were creasing on you and you are using the Intensify stick from Pat, I highly recommend to switch to a different type of glitter glue because I think it will make a world of difference. Yesterday, for example, I wore Bronze Ecstasy the whole day, basically for about 14 hours, 14 and a half hours, not a single crease on my eyelids. I wore it in Germany last week when I took it with me for my work travel, and it had creased by like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So it's safe to say at this point that Pat's Intensify stick, if you have really oily eyelids, does not work with the formula of the Queens. I don't know that it's like intensely sparkly. It's a very beautiful, very like smooth metallic formula. By comparison, some of the metallic eyeshadows that were present in her other Queens I think were a bit flakier, and maybe because of that a little bit more impactful in terms of like how glittery they look. We are going to shine on artificial light, but just from the way this eyeshadow is applying, it feels a lot smoother than some of the eyeshadows that are present in the other Queens. Probably that red shade that I'm not going to use today is the only truly like flaky eyeshadow in this palette. So there you go, those were the results of my little experiment. I'm going to take the pink shade here now as my inner corner highlight, the champagne one. Well, it's not really champagne, it really is a pink. And hopefully it's going to work as an inner corner highlight for me. Yeah, just about. I wonder if any of you have ever had this revelation, because I was pretty flabbergasted by how poorly these Queens wore when I used the Intensify stick from Pat. Alright, I'm going to take a little bit of the black eyeshadow with the sparkles now to re-intensify it, because I really want that pink sparkle to actually show through in the look and for that wing to be a bit more present. Since I'm not really using anything deeper in my crease today, the wing is going to create that extra layer of depth there. And now I am going to take the Intensify stick because I want to show you what my favorite way actually of using it has been, which is when I use deeper, smokier shades on my lower lash line, I apply the stick first because then they adhere a little bit better and I don't cry them out as fast as I would if I were to wear them without. Because the idea now, as you have probably guessed, is that I am going to go back into this shade and apply that also on my lower lashes. So we're going for a very smoky lower lash line as well. And I'm going to apply a little bit of this purple eyeshadow stick. This one is in the number 16 from Kiko. I don't know that this color is available, but I just want to put like a purple color in my waterline, because I don't really like to wear black too much in my waterline. I feel like it gets a little bit too dramatic for the day. Obligatory sparkle moment, also because I myself am very curious how this eyeshadow is looking under artificial lighting. Yeah, I can see those blue sparkles there. I don't know whether you can, but they're more subtle. I feel like this eyeshadow is a little bit more subtle than some of the ones that I have tried so far in the other Queens. And it was also quite obvious just based on the texture. So this is the final look. I paired it with the Luxuriously Lucent Lipstick in Painterly from Lisa Eldridge. And now let's get into the final thoughts that I have about Bordeaux Bliss. So Bordeaux Bliss still isn't going to be my favorite out of the 4. I think it's going to be my least favorite out of the 4. I can pretty much say that with certainty because I've already worn Sunset Romance once and I know how I feel about it, and I really like Lunar Nightshade and Bronze Ecstasy. So this one is still going to be, you know, in the bottom of the chain. But I have to say I'm quite pleasantly surprised by the tones that are in here, because based on the promo photos I honestly thought this was going to be more red toned and more maroon toned and more pink toned, like all the tones that I personally am not a huge fan of on myself. But this is coming across actually quite much more neutral, except for this flaky shade here. All these other eyeshadows in here, I think you can also tell from the look, are coming across quite neutral. And to my surprise, I think my favorite shade in here is going to be this black with the pink sparkles, because it is very unique and I do honestly enjoy that extra level of sparkle that is going on in this shade. So overall, I am pleasantly surprised by this quint, and I do very much enjoy it. Now, I also want to add that when it comes to the neutral shades, like this one, and this one, is that not a look that you can create just by pulling out your Divine Rose 2 palette and using Eleganza on your lid? I think so. I think you can achieve a very similar look if you were to just pull out, I don't know, either your Divine Rose 2 palette or a combination of your Divine Rose 1 and Divine Rose 2 palettes, because there's really not a neutral pink shade like this in the Divine Rose 2. But the lid shade specifically is very much giving me Eleganza vibes. Yeah, they're very similar. Okay, so this is the new one from Bordeaux Bliss and this is Eleganza. I think the new one is a little bit more sparkly because it has that like beautiful blue reflect going on, whereas Eleganza is a pure metallic and maybe slightly lighter in tone, and there's a little bit more pink in here and a little bit more purple in here, but I mean the difference is pretty minimal. So is it a good palette? Yes it is. I don't hate it, which is really great because I kind of like suspected that I might hate it and I might have to give it away immediately after use. I'm not going to, because I'm now deeply attached to this black with the pink glitter in it. But at the same time, if you have a lot of Pat McGrath eyeshadow palettes already in your collection, you probably have this. Like the other shades, the other two quints that I tested, Bronze Ecstasy and Lunar Nightshade, I don't know that they're like super similar to things that you already have. I'm sure that you have very similar things in your huge collections. I don't know that you necessarily have these shadows in these specific textures from Pat McGrath, whereas here I would say you probably do. So these are presently my thoughts on Bordeaux Bliss. I'm very curious what you thought about this look. What do you think about this quint? If you bought it, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching and we will see each other again tomorrow. Bye!